Hello, welcome back. So, I am reading a report currently about the Colorado River and Lake Powell in the United States and how, as of the 17th of August 2026, it is only 30 feet above the minimum level needed to generate hydropower. And I'm seeing this trend across the planet where reservoirs, dams, lakes, they're all drying up. And if they're not drying up, they might as well be dry. And, you know, down here in Australia in the land down under, we are one of the driest continents on Earth. I think we're the second or third most driest continent on Earth. And while I don't necessarily believe we're going to be running out of water on Earth, I do believe that we're going to be running out of fresh water available to us humans and the needs to like purify water and stuff like that and sanitize it. And I just also want to apologize. This is going to be a very raw video, so I usually edit my videos a little bit. But yeah, this is just a very raw video. So, there's another report here I'm reading from England and Wales that reservoirs are exceptionally low in the UK and England. And I'm pretty sure those guys are in like one of the biggest heat waves that there is at the moment. So that is just, it's crazy. The report goes on to say this one reservoir in England is exceptionally low. Of all of the reservoirs in England, this one is exceptionally low. And the drought is affecting almost all of England and all of Wales. It doesn't name the specific dam, it just says one of the dams. But this particular dam is extremely low. The report also says that in Austria, Reuters reported on August 12th, 2026, that Austria is experiencing an unprecedented water challenge with water supplies at their lowest levels in around 100 years. Flow in the Danube near the Greifenstein hydroelectric plant has fallen from roughly 2,000 cubic meters per second to around 700. That is a massive difference. And remember, some of these hydro dams produce power from water flow. And like I always just keep thinking, like, as populations increase and the demand on the grid gets more and more and more, like, humans are going to need, all humans, I say that as if like I'm an alien, people, us, we're going to need as much help from every direction as possible. It goes on to say that Italy's Po Valley is currently experiencing a very severe drought. The Po River and alpine lakes are at critically low levels, and Italy's rice-growing region is being hit particularly hard. Some farmers have had to abandon parts of their fields because there isn't enough water to irrigate everything. Irrigation systems have introduced rotation schedules, meaning different sections of farmland take turns receiving water. Reuters reported that financial losses in the Pavia area alone could exceed 100 million euros or pounds. I'm not sure what that symbol is. Italy is yeah, in my mind, like, produces a lot of rice, produces a lot of pasta, I'm assuming. So, if they have a water shortage, it's going to trickle down. Johannesburg. So Reuters reported this month that more than a third of Johannesburg's water supply, approximately 655 million liters every day, is being lost through aging and damaged infrastructure. Some residents have reported gone years without reliable water, relying on tanker deliveries. When you think about it, it's crazy. We wake up every single day, and, well, particularly here in Australia, and we turn a tap on, we don't give it much thought, and then all of a sudden water just comes out, and it's nothing really thought. It's not thought about again after that. What happens if one day we go to turn the tap on and nothing comes out? Like, that's crazy. That is crazy to think about. Puerto Rico is going through months without reliable water. In 2026, residents in parts of Puerto Rico have gone more than 2 months without reliable water following major pipeline failures. Major pipelines having failures. That is crazy. The problem was compounded by drought and an aging water system. See, a lot of these water systems around the world are so old and ancient, and that they're like hardly maintained. That water is just simply leaking out and getting wasted. This is what I'm saying. This is why I'm starting to think that water is going to be like the new liquid gold. It's already called liquid gold, but I think it is going to actually mean that it's liquid gold. Australia, here down in Australia, we're not immune here either. In fact, we're probably set up to have probably one of the severest of water droughts, just considering how dry our country is anyway. The report goes on to say that the Australian Bureau of Meteorology reported that the 36 months ending in June 2026 had below average rainfall across large parts of Western Australia, South Australia, Victoria, Tasmania, and parts of New South Wales and Queensland. Now, over the last couple of days, we have had some rain here. It hasn't been a lot, but it's been very, very small. Although I don't think that is going to make a dent in the drought, like, in the grand scheme of things. Some areas of southwest Western Australia, southeastern South Australia, and southwestern Victoria have experienced their lowest rainfall on record for comparable 36 months period. The Bureau July to September outlook also indicated below average rainfall was likely across much of southern, central, and eastern Australia. So that's what I'm saying. This isn't just happening overseas. We're already experiencing it here. And it hasn't really rained here massively like it usually does. I don't I don't think we're going to run out of water on Earth. I don't ever think that's going to happen outside of the sun just like evaporating everything. But I do just feel like something has to give eventually, and I think we're going to be running out of cheap, reliable, and accessible fresh water. Absolutely. In some certain places. And I do think it's a much bigger problem than people realize. It's happening slowly but surely. I don't think many people notice it because they can go to their taps right now and turn it on. And, they got access to clean, fresh water. I'm reading that France has 92 departments under water restrictions. Water restrictions. France is experiencing what officials are describing as an unprecedented drought. As of August 2026, 92 departments had water restrictions, with authorities trying to protect depleted groundwater and rivers. More than 40,000 people have already experienced water cuts, while another 550,000 people are facing strained supplies. Some communities are preparing for emergency water deliveries by tanker truck. So that's crazy. In France, more than 40,000 people have already experienced some sort of water cut, and hundreds of thousands more are facing strained supplies of water. And they're just like solely reliant on tanker delivery. Romania, drought forced a nuclear reactor to shut down. That is crazy. Romania had to shut down its last operating nuclear reactor at the Cernavodă nuclear plant because the Danube River had fallen to record low levels. The river is needed to provide cooling for the nuclear power plant. Nuclear power normally makes people think about uranium reactors and electricity. But the ingredient that's absolutely essential in these operations is water. And they are now in a drought. That is crazy. Now that I think about it, I never really thought about it like that. But how much water nuclear reactors actually need to cool themselves? That's crazy. I never thought about it like that. I thought it was all just internal, and once it's set up, it's just pretty much just maintained. You don't really need to keep cooling down with like adding water, and that's so I've just learned something today. So there you go. But yeah, I just these reports are so alarming. It's worldwide. It is global. Not to mention the countries that are in like massive heat waves at the moment. That is crazy that this is just like happening, and it's not making as much news as it usually would. And I saw, like I said, I was just browsing the internet and I saw a report. It was just like, as I was just scrolling by, I just saw this report about like a possible water shortage. And I've always had the thought that there was always going to be a water shortage. It's just because you're not hearing about it in the news, you obviously think that, well, then it mustn't be happening. But it is happening. It's like happening slowly but surely. This is why, you know, this is just why I always try to tell myself that like sometimes it's better to buy an extra, couple of bottles of water to keep around the house, and just you never know. So if you guys are, just try to keep some emergency drinking water at home. If you got the means to do so, buy some extra water when you go shopping. Learn to store some like clean water, because like this is happening. Like, this is not just isolated to just like one country. This is happening everywhere. That is like, yeah, it's so I don't think things are just not gonna. I don't think they're gonna get better. I think they're just gonna continue to get worse, especially as like these heat waves keep happening around the world. You know, think of it. Think about this: when they have a heat wave, how do people usually cool down? Water. So it's like, even when there's a heat wave, people are going to be consuming more water. People are going to be using more water. People are going to be taking more frequent showers. Filling up pools and just like wasting water and just stuff like that. So it's always going to like have a ripple effect on everybody. So I do think that water is going to be the next liquid gold. And like I said, if you guys have the means and you go down the shops, just buy yourself a couple extra bottles of water. Just, you never know. I always say it's just better to be prepared and not need it. But like I said, this is just global at this point. And like I said, these heat waves, I don't think they're going to get any better anytime soon. So just wanted to keep you guys updated about that. But yeah, the situation doesn't seem to be getting any better anywhere around the world. And remember, this doesn't just stop at water. This is also, this also has a knock-on effect with food and everything else. So with that being said, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves and get yourself some extra water. Bye, guys.